Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 23 of What If Naruto Was a Godly Mage. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Became the Greatest Puppeteer on this channel, and enjoy that guys. And I also posted a new episode of What If Naruto Traveled to Hoshirama's time, so go ahead and check out that and enjoy as well. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support, and yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, Naruto woke up as a different person, as his darker half, all of the darkness inside of him, all of the demonic power, went into his body completely, flowing inside of him, as his attitude also changed a lot. As the ninjas around him tried to attack him, but he touched one of them and turned the thing into a grotesque creature that started to slaughter the others. A flare was quickly fired up in the air, as the two Jinchurikis from the hidden stone arrived, as Onoki sent them along as well. Just in case the mission was proving difficult than they thought, they were tasked to exterminate the boy. If it didn't prove so difficult, they didn't have to intervene. Both Han and Roshi came there, as them and Naruto started the battle. They soon come to realize that this kid was far beyond anything that they have, as Naruto was bringing the both of them down, completely obliterate them in battle, forcing the both of them to go fully tail beast mode, as he drop kick Han and Roshi with his hits in hands so powerful their bodies shattered in the ground, as he locked Han's mouth and make the Biju bomb exploded after smashing Roshi with a powerful attack. Both Jinchurikis were knocked out of their state as they returned back to their human form, unable to fight anymore, as Naruto let vines erupt from underground and take their bodies away. After that, as his sister then arrived, she wanted to know what happened to him, but Naruto told her that he was fine, but she could tell that he was not fine. He told her that he remembered everything, his emotions. He's just different now, and there's some scum he need to take care of first. Before Naruto left though, he grabbed Black Zetsu, who was watching him, as he dived into Black Zetsu's mind, seeing the Akatsuki clothing. As Naruto was shocked, Black Zetsu used that moment to burst from White Zetsu and sink underground, as Naruto incinerate White Zetsu. As he learned a lot of things about Kaguya, the Sage of Six Paths, and where Black Zetsu came from, as he couldn't believe it himself. As Naruto left his sister there and headed off, she returned back to Konoha after a while, as she told Tsunade what happened out there. Tsunade and Hinata and Anko, all of them were there in the office along with Kage, as all of them were worried. Meanwhile, Naruto headed towards the silver capital. Dizak was shocked. Yes, the reason being Dizak could feel the hatred and the amount of power inside someone just by being near the person. And what Dizak felt in his boy was abnormal. So he didn't do anything to antagonize the boy. As Naruto went in there, just walking around and some people attack him, but he simply sent them all sailing away, as he told Dizak he's not here for him, but perhaps he will come back and face him. After all, he will need a good challenge soon, and probably when he's done with the monster Berserk, he'll probably even hand it over to him. Dizak knew that this boy's arrogance was going to be his downfall, as he was going to play on that, so he did not attack Naruto or did not make any of his men attack Naruto. As Naruto made his way, it was then that he met Berserk, as Berserk told him that his father essence and all the other celestials flow into him when that seal happened. That is why Naruto had demonic power in the first place. But because of the mixture of being a tribrid, it was so magnified to the point of being stronger than any other demon. As he was talking, he thought that Naruto would take over the silver capital and got rid of his son, because he didn't wish for his son to do any more harm. After all, he was good now. He wasn't a demonic creature like before. But Naruto did not came for that, as he used Yamato to break the final ceiling and control Berserk. As he took control of Berserk fully, as Naruto then took him out of this dimension. As the Zack came there, as Berserk was gone, we then skip back to Elemental Nations as Zetsu was telling them everything that he saw. It was then that the entire Akatsuki members started to feel shaking, quakes all around them, as all of them disconnected because they want to know what the hell was going on. Pain called the meeting to an end. At Konoha, as Naruto arrived back at the forest area, they could see the giant arms from where they stood. As a giant creature with 4 eyes and 4 arms was making its way towards the hidden stone. Some time passes. Onoki saw someone burst into his office as Kurosaki was there. The man started to mutter some words, but Onoki sensed danger as he grabbed the both of them and flew out of the office before it was destroyed. As he flew outside to see Naruto stand on top of the creature's head, as he told Onoki that he's coming. So yeah guys, so it's basically that's where we left off. You guys can switch across the page and check it out for yourself. So what do you say begin this new episode? The entire nation of the stone was shivering in fear. It was that the entire nation was shaking because it was scared from massive tremors that was quaking through the entire place. The smaller nations around the border, the smaller villages, has been crushed by the walking of Berserk. Berserk was so large that he crushed smaller villages under just 1 feet without even looking back. But the hidden stone, that was the target of Berserk rage, because of the person that was controlling it. His 4 arms was hanging low at his side, tearing through the earth as he walked. His 4 gleaming eyes looked over as his hands were ripping through the earth, his footsteps shaking the ground as he made his way. As Naruto made it do this on purpose, just to intimidate them even more. Meanwhile, in the village, just a couple of meters away, in his life, in his long years of living now, Onoki had never witnessed something so disturbing before. He had seen a lot of things on the battlefield that were unusual and strange, bloodlines and all sorts, but this was beyond expectation. And this was a reality, something he could not understand, something he could not fully grasp, because he'd never seen power like this before. His entire body, even though he was an experienced Kage, someone who has lived through world wars, he was able to think on his feet and quickly at that. But at the moment he was stunned. He wasn't sure what to do. The Kyuubi might be big, but this was just beyond large. Kurosaki was beside her grandfather. She wasn't doing much better anyway. She was also feeling the effect of this thing. She was scared as well. This thing was beyond what any of them expected. As the ninjas at the village gate all stood there shocked. Most of them already dropped their blade in fear and cowered, because they know this thing will squash them like a bug. It didn't matter how much of them there were. As the thing made its way towards the village, "Grandfather, what are we gonna do?" said Kurosaki, as she looked over in her shocked state. She has never seen such fear on her grandfather's face before, because she knew that he was feeling the same thing. None of them can possibly stop this thing that was coming. Can he? She knew that he was strong, but this thing, just what was it? Then, out of everyone's relief, the thing stopped. Right to the edge of their village, the thing stopped. As Onoki noticed a small figure on top of the thing's head, the figure then blinked away, just vanishing. Moments later, Naruto arrived right in the hidden stone, looking around at the cautious ninjas. Seeing one intruder, as it clicked in their mind that this boy must be controlling that thing, they decided to kill him. Many of them spring into action, wasting no time to end Naruto's life. Naruto simply smiled as vines erupted from the ground. Black vines, as the black vines spin around the lash. One of the ninjas got sliced on his arms by the pointed vine. The man dropped to his knees and started to scream. Another ninja rushed over and sliced off his arm right at his shoulder as the man dropped to the ground crying in pain, as another one took him and jumped away. The reason his arm was sliced off because of what they saw. Everyone, don't let it touch you. Those vines, one touch, the entire right arm of the man was incinerating, and it was traveling up to the man's body to incinerate him as well. Naruto laughed as he let the vines lash out as ninjas start to move back. As they speed through handstand, earth style, quaking barrier as they slam their hand on the ground. The ground break open and Naruto start to fall before the barrier above it slammed down on top of him, trapping him inside. The ninjas all looked around, wondering, that startled all of them. Even Onoki was surprised. Speed. He didn't see the boy move. His eyes have been well trained through 3 wars. So he should have saw something. He should have seen his speed, but he did not. As Naruto had his back to Onoki, his back turned. Onoki hands flexed as he was preparing on disintegrating his boy. But he was right in the middle of the village, and his ninjas was around. And that thing over there, he didn't know if this boy died, if that thing would go on a rampage, or was this boy controlling it. You send your ninjas to kill me. I'm a bit disappointed, because I thought the Hidden Stone had something more, great, said Naruto, as he chuckled to himself. You want to know something? You know Minato Namikaze, right? Onoki didn't show any reaction to that. Of course he knew of the man who decimated a great portion of his village in the Third Great Shinobi War. You knew that he was my adopted father. Onoki was surprised to hear that. Yes, he did not know that. So it's like me, finishing his work for him. Hearing that, Onoki sprang into action as he saw the boy move his arm, as a cylinder started to form as he fired it straight towards Naruto. The thing captured Naruto in a box before imploding upon itself. And then Naruto was gone. Onoki quickly spun around to check if the monster was, when he saw the monster kneel down. Like the control was broken. It wasn't moving. Onoki was about to flew off to disintegrate this thing, whatever it is. He couldn't take any chances for it to wake up and start to wreak havoc before the thing got back to his feet as clapping could be heard. How? Onoki said. Kurosaki was shocked. That technique of her grandfather's, it never failed to kill its target. So how? As Naruto was leaned up against a building. I'm much faster than your eyes can see, said Naruto. But I must say, that jutsu of yours is quite devastated. If you were a bit more taller, Naruto said, with a chuckle. You're quite short, and a bit more stronger, and with more power. You know what? Overall, you're just useless, said Naruto. So yeah, don't bother with that thought, he said. You can't match me at all. So you're perhaps wondering what am I doing here, right? Isn't it simple, Onoki said. You came here to fight. Fight? Oh, no. You misunderstand me. As he looked around the ninjas. Whoa, these guys really want me dead, don't they? The weapons are ready to strike at my heart at any moment's notice. Well, let's get to it, shall we? I want an apology. Everyone was confused and surprised. Onoki looked towards the boy, like he had lost his mind. Don't look at me like that, said Naruto. I said I want an apology. You guys attacked me because you thought I was a threat to the world. I must thank you. I have to thank the Raikage as well, because you guys were the ones that helped me to push myself to this power. Something that I won't be letting go of anytime soon now. So yeah, thank you for that. So, go down on your hands and knees, and place your forehead to the ground, and beg for my forgiveness. Onoki felt disrespected. This boy dare step inside his village, and ask something like that from him. Do you know who you're trifling with, boy? I don't care what you are, Naruto said, cut him off. I said, go down on your hands and knees and beg for my forgiveness. After all, do you really think you can face that thing, Naruto asked? As a large arm lifted up in the air, as it made Naruto smile when all of the ninjas tensed even more. "Well, I'm waiting," said Naruto. Onoki clenched his fist. Naruto sighed as he tapped the ground, as everyone got ready. But it was a body that came from the ground. It was pulled out by a vine. Onoki noticed who the person was. "Roshi? Yes, you sent this man after me, didn't you? With the tail beast inside him." As Onoki saw Roshi was badly beaten and unconscious. "You know, recently I realized something. It would be really bad for my image if people don't respect me after I show them how strong I am. So, your actions have consequences." Vines ripped through Roshi's eye socket and burst through the back of his head, ripping his head off in the process, tossed it straight towards Onoki, who looked on in shock. "So, are you going to go on your hands and knees and beg now?" said Naruto. Onoki stood there, his entire body shaking. The only reason why he hadn't moved yet was because of that thing. As he looked behind him, as Naruto sighed, Honden came from the ground another vine. Before Naruto snapped his finger as the vine squeezed him until he exploded in a blood of shower. As Naruto smiled, the blood rained down. "You know, if you're worrying about that thing behind you, you want to know a secret? If you defeat me, it will vanish." That was all that Onoki needed to hear. He sprang into action, flying forward as he fired a cylinder straight towards Naruto. Naruto raised his hand as a black mass enveloped from his arm that turned into a drill as he thrust it forward. It made contact with the white cylinder as it exploded. Ninjas all around sprang into actions as all of them started to release jutsus. The ground under Naruto's feet break away as he dropped right into a pit. Kurosaki speed through hand sign as she fired off a strange white clay on him as she used her fire to make it hard. As Naruto looked down, the thing was covering him right up to his shoulders. Interesting, he said. Onoki wasted no time as he flew down there as a cylinder came on Naruto's head. "Rot in hell, you bastard," said Onoki as the cylinder imploded upon itself. As Naruto's head was gone, just completely erased. Onoki spared nothing though as he went through hand sign. He slammed his hand down on the mixture as earth spikes erupted from it, tearing through the mixture, hoping to tear Naruto's body apart as well. As he then went through hand sign and slammed his hand on the exit as the entire thing sealed up underground just to make sure. As Berserk suddenly vanished in a poof of smoke. Onoki and the others stood there as a sigh of relief washed over the village until laughter could be heard. As they all snapped their heads up, suddenly there was another poof of smoke as Berserk then appeared once again. As Naruto was up in his stomach, holding on to his stomach, laughing. "You know, you all released that sigh of relief thinking that I'm dead. That look's on your face. And now that look turned to pure agony. You know, recently I love to see that," said Naruto as he wiped away the tear of laughing so much. As he descended upon the ground. "I must say though, you were able to take out my clone with their attack. It seems they didn't want to kill you. What a good guy," said Naruto. "Or probably not." Black vines shot from the ground and scratched a couple of other ninjas and some of them got impaled all around. Onoki slammed his hand on the ground as two massive earth golem came out as they wrapped around the spike, tearing the roots from the ground. But the spikes enlarged and tear right through the earth golem. Kurosaki made her way as she went through hand sign as well, but her hand was grabbed. She froze when Naruto held onto her hand. Soft hands, he said. Kurosaki felt something she never felt before. Fear. A fear that she never felt in her entire life. Just by a single touch, she felt like she was being held by death itself. She could not move, she could not talk. As Naruto then grabbed her by the face. "Hey, Onoki," he said. Onoki stopped what he was doing and quickly spun around. As he saw Kurosaki there, her body shaking in pure fear. She was not even resisting his hold because she was scared. As her entire body was shaking as Naruto stepped and moved a bit behind her, his hand at her throat. "You know, this power of mine, It gave me the ability to induce fear upon others. But people, with small weakened wills, it made them see and feel even worse. I guess you weren't that strong. She didn't respond, she just stood there shaking to her core. As Onoki gritted his teeth, let her go and spare the village, and I'll give you your apology. That was the most humiliating thing for Kage to do. For a man to literally go on his knees and beg for forgiveness. And this boy wanted to do that, but he had to. He couldn't afford for his village to be destroyed. Or his granddaughter to be killed like that. Ah, that's much more like it, said Naruto. As he then started to laugh. Huh, I never knew you were that scared, he said as he tossed Kurosaki as she crashed to the ground. Because she had wet herself, making her to laugh even more. He then looked towards Onoki. Now, do as I say. Onoki grinded his teeth. As Naruto looked towards him, you know, old man, you're testing my patience. Onoki saw a shadow descending, flashing over his vision. As he turned just in time, as Berserk dropped his hand right at the edge of the village. A massive explosion rippled out from the point of impact. Berserk wrenched the ground apart, tearing a huge chunk of earth away. Many people had squashed, many was blown away and hit certain vital areas, killing them by one hit. Onoki stood there frozen as his body was thrown back by the wind that came along with it. This thing was beyond what he thought it was. Berserk then opened its mouth as a small black ball started to form. Black lightning started to crackle around it. Onoki dropped to his knees. As he bowed his head, I beg for your forgiveness, he said. Please, spare my village, he said to Naruto. As Naruto stepped forward towards him. You know, I want to know why, said Naruto. Why did you send your man after me to kill me? As Onoki gritted his teeth. Do you want me to do that again? No, Onoki said. It was Orochimaru. Orochimaru, said Naruto. Yes, the Raikage got tips from Orochimaru that you were going to end the world. So killing you will be doing the world a favor by getting rid of you out of it. Oh, so that was it, said Naruto. But you fail, huh? Badly. I mean, I slaughter all your guys. And I kill your Jinchurikis. Yeah, that was bad. I know I just killed a large population of your village. You know, you shouldn't have wakened up the beast. You should have just stayed down and held your head down. Maybe then, you'll be able to say that your village didn't get harmed through this. You must be really regretting what you did right now, right? Are you? Naruto asked. Yes, said Onoki, as he knew he had to go along with anything this boy is saying at the moment, or his village would be destroyed. He was already humiliated enough to be on his knees bowing to this person. But he had to. For the sake of his village, he had to, no matter what. So if you could go back in time and tell the Raikage no, you would, said Naruto. Yes, said Onoki. Huh, bummer, said Naruto. As Onoki narrowed his eyes and looked up. I told myself that I would come here and eradicate your village. But, thinking about it now, said Naruto, you were the one that sent the call. So, if it is possible, I could just get my revenge on you. The moment Onoki looked up, Naruto's two fingers started to glow as he fired off a red beam. That was so fast, Onoki didn't get time to blink. He cried out in pain and agony as his eyeballs got scorched, completely incinerated. As he dropped to his back, Grandfather, Kurosaki cried out, but Naruto turned towards her as she stopped. The fear, it was still overwhelming as she stopped speaking immediately, her body trembling once again. The rest of the ninjas around didn't even come close, as the fear was too much for them. This nifty trick of his that was enhancing their fear, making most of them tremble. They didn't even want to come close. And not to mention the explosion that blew many of them away. As Naruto raised his foot and stomped right into Onoki's chest, the man felt many things crack as Onoki coughed up blood. You monster, he said, knowing that he was going to die. You won't get away with this, Oh, and who's gonna stop me, said Naruto. You? Your granddaughter? Or this pathetic village of yours? You wanna hear something, said Naruto. Berserk raised another hand and smashed the village with another thumbling destruction. Bodies, buildings. Everything was sent sailing because of the wave of destruction. As Onoki heard screams of pain and agony. That was another hand. I suppose that would do. A reminder, said Naruto. Although, you won't live to see it. Black vines broke from the ground and wrapped around Onoki's arms, as they wrapped around his legs as well. As they grew larger and larger and wrapped him tight. Onoki cried out in pain. Burn in hell, monster, he said, as his body was torn limb from limb. As his torso dropped right in the center, as Naruto jumped forward and squashed his head right under his boots, like he was nothing. "Aw, damn it," he said. "I got my boot all messy." He waved his hand as a shower of water came from his palm and washed it off. As he then stepped forward, Kurosaki stood there, tears coming from her eyes. The fear was still making her not move, but she just witnessed her grandfather get crushed. He was gone. She stood there, entire body shaking, and this monster was coming towards her. As Naruto stepped forward, as he kneeled down, she moved back, her back hitting the wall behind her. He stepped forward once again as he placed a hand right under her chin. "Please, no," she said, as she closed her eyes. "Oh, don't worry. I'm not gonna harm you. Besides, this village gonna need to pick me up after what I did. And I believe you being his granddaughter, you're gonna probably be the next Kage, am I right?" "Well," said Naruto, "get stronger. Try to get your force back together. And then one day when I return, you try to kill me, okay? Because I'll be looking for a challenge. After all, life would be boring if I didn't have any challenge." As he waved towards her, she stood there stunned, as he just vanished. She broke down and started to cry. Screams, destruction all around her. As she crawled her way over towards her grandfather, bloody, beaten, torn up body, his squashed head. As she looked over with rage, pouring in her eyes with tears leaking down her face. But what could she do? As she looked at the village that was in ruins, just what exactly could she do? Meanwhile, a far distance away from the village, in mid-air, was the Zack. Yes, he was watching everything. Watch how his birthright power be used. Once his father and the other demons had merged, it turned into this thing. But he still called it his father's name, Berserk. But he knew that it wasn't his father anymore. After his Celestials and their power combined inside of him, it turned him good. It turned him soft. And he didn't deserve that power. None of them did. Not even that damn boy. He still did not know many about this world. As he looked around, he was the only one that came here because he didn't want to start anything. Yes, it might look shameful that he was scared, but he wouldn't deny it, he was scared. Because after all, he could sense a depth of someone's power, the full depths of darkness and rage, an overwhelming rage and power. But this boy, when he sensed it, it felt like there was no end to it, like it wasn't anything. It was just empty and full at the same time. It was unable to describe. But still, it doesn't matter. He was going to get what he deserved. And when he consumed all that demonic power, this boy doesn't even know what he's doing. That power is not to be used like that. It is to be consumed. And once you do, that is when you become, well, he will become what he rightfully is. The Demon King. The one that stands above all. The one that will make this very universe quake for his name. All he had to do was to find a way to gain control and absorb it. But he couldn't go too close, as this boy could sense his presence and simply incinerate him. No matter with all the power he had right now, he was still weak. Still weak to fight that boy. Although he was strong. Stronger in his own nation than everyone else. He could not match that boy's power right now. And at the moment, he could tell that the boy was unstable. Well, not unstable, he just didn't really Well, he was like him. Yes. Great evil minds think together. This Zack smirk as he wondered. This boy seemed to went through some changes to make him rather unpleasant and dark. So he really wondered as a smirk came to his face. Yes, arrogance and self-loathing. He would use it against the boy. Meanwhile, at Konoha, Tsunade was having a really bad day. Yes, he was furious at the moment. Things were just spiraling out of control. She had no idea where Naruto was. After that thing emerged into her world, she had some of her envoys trailed it. But she got no reply yet. She told him to find out where he was going. But even though, they would take a while to come back. And that was not her only problem. Hinata had went home, as Rukia had went with her. Uncle, Kakashi, all of them were worried. And not to mention the Sasuke fact. Sasuke Uchiha deserted the village. Yes, he left the village. With the chaos that was going on, and everyone on high alert. No one found Sakura until it was too late, as they found her passed out, as she relayed the information to Tsunade. Kakashi was sent out to try and find if there was any clues, but he came back. He found tracks, but they led all the way towards the border, and passed through it, and he had to stop there and report back to Tsunade. Not only did she lose the Uchiha brat, but she lost the very hope that made her come back to this village, as everything was just falling apart. They had had many discussions, she, Jiraiya, about Naruto losing it one day, because of the, well, power that was brewing inside of him. But she always knew that they could probably bring him back, and not if they, Hinata could. There was a bond between them even if Naruto did not see it. Well, he saw it as a close friend, but Tsunade saw the look in her eyes. She loved that boy, and even if he did not know, he loved her as well. But now, what was she gonna do? Things were just getting worse. Suddenly, Shizune rushed into the office. "This is Tsunade," she said. "A messenger hawk has just delivered the scroll." Tsunade took the scroll from her. As she unrolled it, she used her chakra to unseal the scroll. As she started to read it over, it was a mix from the envoys. Tsunade's eyes grew wide, as her face became rather pale. She knew that Naruto was angry, probably angry that he had stone, but she never thought that he would take these drastic She released the scroll on the table, as Shizune looked at her. "Tsunade-sama is..." She was going to ask if everything was alright because she saw look in Tsunade's face. This was worse than she thought. How unstable was Naruto at this moment? He told Rukia that he was okay, but he was done with the Hidden Stone because he destroyed it, even killing their teacher Kage. That was what the envoys saw when they made their way after Naruto left. That was what they report back, and he was heading towards the rocky terrain. Tsunade could only speculate where he was going. Kumo. Meanwhile, at the Hidden Rain, as Tendo Pain was looking out from his ledge, the world had changed into a way of difference to him. Yes, he never expected such power to be in the world. He could feel the ominous shriek through the air, something malevolent and dark, and something strange and twisted. The Rinnegan was giving him that feeling of this power. He couldn't fully grasp what it was, but he could tell it was that boy. It felt like the day when the boy came here, but this power, it felt totally different from that one. That one was bright and in suffering, but this one, it's dark and chaotic. Konoha came up behind him. "What is?" she asked. "For once, I don't know," he said. He had no clue. This boy held the 9-tailed Jinchuriki. And if this boy is as strong as Zetsu said, how were they going to retrieve it? And not to mention, which members of the Akatsuki could take him down? Pain had mostly called himself a god most time. He would never admit this to anyone outside. But that day, when the boy came here and used his universal pull, the boy simply backed it off like it was nothing. And he was certain that was not a fluke. And now this. But he had to find out what exactly was going on. Meanwhile, at Kumo, the Raikage was having a Normal day. The ninjas that had been sent out to kill the boy had been gone for a time now. He had expected them to return by now. But he supposed the mission was more difficult than he thought. But still, they had the backup of the Jinchurikis as well out there. He would have sent his Jinchurikis, but Han and Roshi were more than willing to do the job. Well, the old man was going to leave them alone for a while. Even though they were stone ninjas, it seems like they didn't like to do missions and all that, because neither of them live in the village entirely. They live in the outskirts, in the smaller villages. Yes, he knew that this job was going to be complete after all. All of those ninjas that they sent were elite. Not to mention the King Kagu squad members. All of them had trained for years, honed their skills to become the best at what they do. They weren't as strong as S-rank ninjas, but combining them together, no S-rank ninjas could stand in their path. Yes, that group was specifically made to be the strongest and the best of the best, to complete missions that are too difficult for normal ninjas. He wasn't sure about the power level of Onoki man, but they had made an agreement. He was sure that the old man wouldn't break that agreement. After all, he couldn't be sending out his best ninjas, and the man be sending out weak genins or chunins. So they had to send out an equal amount, so they could get rid of this monster from the world. After all, he was the main reason behind so many deaths that were caused in both of their villages. He was sure when Konoha found out about this, they were going to try and retaliate. But if a meeting shall be called between them, he was simply going to explain to the rest of the world nations about what that boy caused, the threat and the problem that he caused, and why he needed to be exterminated. Yes, that boy was too much of a risk to keep on living. That is why he needed to die. So his actions were justified. Meanwhile, on top of Berserk Head, as Naruto was sitting down, as his eyes were closed, meanwhile inside the mindscape, as Yamato and the Kyuubi was looking at Naruto who just entered. Naruto-kun, the Kyuubi said. She saw what happened to his eyes. Well, from the scream that Silver showed him. As she saw how ruthless and merciless he was, this was not her same Naruto-kun. As Yamato standing there looking at Naruto, Naruto simply used him to free this monster and just tossed him aside. This was not the same Naruto he knew at all. Oh, miss me? Naruto asks. I know we haven't talked for a while, but are you guys okay? Naruto asks. I mean, we are friends, right? What happened to you? Said the Kyuubi. I know that this new power is flooding into your system, but this shouldn't be affecting your emotions that much. What are you talking about? Said a voice. All of them looked over at Silver was just there relaxing. It's not that his emotion is changing. This is what he's supposed to be. After all, why should a god act like normal human? Having this much power, why should you behave like an idiot buffoon when you can crush anyone that dare to defy you? So tell me, he said. You were once a being of mass destruction. What do you mean once? She asked. Well, the moment you met Naruto you changed. Having someone there for you. Having someone so close. Someone that you care about. And someone who care about you changed you along the way. And it turned you into this joke. The Kyuubi clenched her face, but she did not do anything because darkness had proved stronger than her. So she would not go up against this one. You know he's right, said Naruto. I haven't changed. I'm just what I'm supposed to be, he said. As he held out his hand as two small balls appeared in his hand. You took them, said the Kyuubi. What are you gonna do with them? As Naruto was holding up the 5 and the 4 tail. Yes, he trapped their chakra inside these balls. When he killed Roshi and Han, he'd already sucked the chakra out of their body. I'm gonna need a bit of entertainment when I return. Return from where, the Kyuubi asks. You know, I'm gonna really need to change your attitude. Both of you, he says. He looked at Yamato as well. Come here. As the Kyuubi was pulled towards him. She didn't believe that Naruto would ever do anything to hurt her, after all they've been through. As she looked at him, as she dropped to her knees right in front of him, she looked up at him right in his face. This might hurt. Her eyes widened. Just a bit though. As he tapped her on the forehead, she started screaming pain. As she collapsed, crying out in pain, her body shivering. Yamato rushed forward. Stop this, you bastard, he said, as he was angry. This Naruto, he didn't like him one bit. Naruto waved his hand as a gust of wind blew Yamato away as he crashed over to the side. As Naruto's hand started to glow with pure darkness as he reached down, his hand went right through the Kyuubi's chest as he ripped a small ball out of her as well that had her chakra inside of it. As she went unconscious, "Don't worry, you will be fine soon," he said. As Yamato came flying back towards him, as he had a javelin in his hand. Maybe if he stopped Naruto in here, he can stop and remove that dark power from him. But Naruto raised his hand down as a force smashed Yamato into the ground. Chains erupted and wrapped around his wrists. As Naruto stepped forward, "I'm gonna really have to change your guys' attitude," he said. As Naruto waved his hand, as a wall arrived in front of him, as he brushed the two of them aside as chains wrapped around them and stuck them to the wall. "Hey," as he looked over. "Yo," said Silver. "Is it time yet?" he asked. "Nah," said Naruto. "Being that strong would just be a bummer. I mean, no one has been able to hurt me yet. But I'm gonna find some challenge. You aren't going to be bored, are you? You know I'm just power, right? Why would I be bored?" As Silver then burst into power and vanished. "Yeah, you're right," said Naruto, as he snapped his finger, as a copy of him appeared. "What are you gonna do?" said Yamato. "Oh, you know, change you." "What do you mean by that?" "I need some accomplice. Some people that won't be hesitant to do as I please. And from now on, things are gonna change. A lot." As he smirked, as he then vanished, leaving the copy of himself inside. "Alright, you two. Ready to change?" the copy asked. Back outside, at Kumo, the Raikage had a cup on his table, with water inside. It was then he noticed the water start to ripple a bit, as he wondered was the mountain shaking or something. Seeing that Kumo was built up into the mountains, as he had to travel up there. But the table then started to shake even more, until the cup fell off, collapsing down to the ground. He moved towards his window. That was when ninjas burst inside. "Sir, the North Scouts have reported." The man gulped. "What is it?" he asked. "Sir, you just have to see for yourself. It's a monster." "What kind of monster?" Raikage said. As Darui then came to the office. "Yo, boss." "Rooftop," he said. As the Raikage burst through the window, as he grabbed onto the ledge and jumped up. Seeing that they were on the high mountain, he saw it. That was the first thing that he saw. Yes, a giant beast making his way towards the village, tearing through mountain paths, with footsteps so large it towered over mountains. The Raikage was stunned. Could this be the working of that boy? Meanwhile, at the training ground, as Yujito and B were currently sparring, as the both of them came to a stop. "What is that?" she said, as she could feel the earth tremoring. "It's a quake of the earth, you know," said B. "I suggest you just let it go and make it float," he said. "No, it's not an earthquake," she said. As she stepped forward, they were currently being hidden, as they were behind the training ground so they couldn't see past the mountain view. She made her way. "Little kitten, we're training." "What's the matter? What are you delaying?" asked B. He came around to see Yujito just stunned. She was standing there, her mouth was open wide. "You better close that before you get flies." As he turned his head to see, B dropped everything that was in his mind at the moment, as it went blank. He was confused. Was he seeing this? "Yo, Edo, am I seeing this for real, or this is a genjutsu on my steel?" B, as much as I would like to say this is a genjutsu, but it's not. That thing, whatever it is, it's really coming here. "Oh," said B, as Yujito was beside him. "Come on, B, we have to go," she said, as she made a beeline towards the village. It didn't matter what was coming. She was a loyal Kumo ninja, and she would protect her village in anyhow. Meanwhile, on top of Berserk's head, Naruto had his blade in his arm. The blade had transformed, as the blade had become pitch black like night. The handle was now red, as flames was on the blade. On the black blade, flames were licking around it. Naruto raised the blade up in the air as he was standing right on top of the head of Berserk. As he then started to channel dark energy inside of it, the flames became black. They became pitch black as night. As the sky started to get darkened as well, as he leaped right off of Berserk's head. Standing right in mid-air, Berserk came to a stop as he looked towards the village of Kumo. He saw all the ninjas rally down there as all of them were getting prepared for this invasion. The sky started to crack with lightning and thunder. Booming lightning shook the place. As Naruto smirked as he brought down the blade, as a dark energy washed out of it. The first thing the energy did was split the land. Yes, screams, terrifying screams could be heard as the land was split right down the center. Anyone that was caught up in the split was completely incinerated. Kumo was divided as bodies, blood was scattered everywhere. A grand entrance, wouldn't you say, said Naruto, as he then descended back down. He made his way back as Berserk took some giant steps. As he came upon a clearing before he entered the village, he saw ninjas down there. As he looked down, his eyes enhanced as he saw the Raikage, Killer Bee, and also Yujito. He knew all of this information from the Kumo ninja. The captain of the Kingaku squad was well aware of most things, so he knew about the information of these people's identity. As Naruto jumped down and landed a distance away from them, he could see that the Raikage temper was already raging. He saw that the man didn't get caught up in the explosion. Why hello there, said Naruto, as the Raikage wasted no time as the man charged. A hothead, isn't he? As he saw Killer Bee transform, it seems like they were wasting no time, as Yujito transformed as well. A few seconds earlier, when the three ninjas landed, Yujito, Bee said to Raikage, "Do not waste any time joining out this fight. This boy has to die right now, and then we will move on to that thing, understood?" "Yes sir," said Yujito. "I'm right with you bro," said Bee, as the two of them got ready. Back to the present time, as Naruto watched the three of them rush towards them. As Bee then turned, he went toward Berserk. Oh yeah, that was a bad idea. Yujito has already transformed to a full cat state, and the thing was charging towards Raikage though, met him first with enhanced speed. Naruto brought him his arm as Raikage's fist smashed against it with so much force. The Raikage was stunned beyond belief. When Naruto did not move, he didn't even feel like he punched the boy. When he looked closely, he did not punch Naruto. He punched a hollow black shield. As he tried to break through it, but nothing was working. As Naruto then jumped, the Raikage spin in mid-air as his feet tackled with lightning, aiming straight right towards Naruto's skull. As Naruto raised his hand as the fist connected with it, a booming sound could be heard as the pressure was blown from the air, making Naruto simply smirk down at him. Before he raised his finger and flicked it, a black wind bullet smashed into the Raikage as his body was sent sailing to the ground. Meanwhile, Bee reared back his fist as he drove it forward. Berserk brought down his hand and connected with Bee's fist. Bee's entire body was thrown off the ground as he crashed down. Meanwhile, the two-tailed cat wasted no time as she formed a Bichu bomb and launched it towards Naruto. As Naruto saw the massive bomb coming, he raised his hand as a small black ball appeared. The black ball then turned into a spear as he thrust it. It connected right with the Bichu bomb and exploded. Debris, dust, everything was sent flying. The Raikage appeared behind Naruto with brilliant speed as he was going to separate Naruto's head with one chop. But yet again his hand did not touch Naruto. "You know, I heard that you were the fastest man alive right now. I guess I'm the fastest," said Naruto. As Naruto was behind him, the Raikage lashed out with a spinning kick. As Naruto brought up his hand and blocked the kick, before slamming his fist right into Raikage's guts. As Naruto blurred away out of sight, he appeared right behind the man before he dropped and swing a spinning kick to the back of his head. But the Raikage spin and lashed out his feet as the both of their feet connected that created a booming pressure once again. Yujito launched towards Naruto in her cat form as she slashed at him, smashing him right into the ground. She wastes no time as she expelled blue fires incinerating the earth as an explosion threw her straight up into the sky. As Naruto came out of the flames, not even a single ear in his body was burned. The Raikage latched towards him with his entire fist coated in lightning as Naruto dashed forward and smashed his own fist into it. Another booming shockwave could be heard as both of them jumped back. You know, I was gonna give you an ultimatum after slicing your village in half for you to go on your knees and beg, but it seems like you don't want that. And you're really boring me, said Naruto. As Naruto started to flex his power, the entire mountain region started to shake, quake under the weight of his power. As in a blink of an eye, he was gone. The Raikage cried out in pain as he looked towards his left to see blood spraying. As he saw Naruto extending fingernails over to the side, clenching his right arm, as Naruto tossed it away. He shot forward his left arm, not wanting to give up, as he was at 100% as he drive his feet down towards Naruto's face. Naruto blocked it and shot his hand forward. The Raikage twisted just in time and brought out his other feet. As it slammed down on Naruto's shoulder, the ground broke under the intense weight, but Naruto's body did not slump or anything. As Naruto opened his mouth, pure, unbridled black flames expelled from it and blew right into the man's body as he was thrown back, his entire shirt burned off. Third-degree burns caked his stomach and his torso, as Naruto was then smashed down by two tails. But the tails were stopped as Naruto floated out of the ground as he flies straight up in the air, holding on to the tails, bringing the two-tailed cat with him as he spun her and brought her down. Boom! The entire place shatters as he smashed her. He then dropped from the sky like a bullet. Her entire body would sink as he landed right in her stomach, knocking the air and the power right out of her. As her body resorted back to normal, as Naruto picked her up by her hair, it was just a young stupid girl. He then pulled his hand back and drove it right into her chest. Yujito's eyes went wide as she stood there, her eyes looking at him as blood started to come from her mouth. As Naruto merely smiled at her. I guess you were too weak, he said, as he ripped a ball out of her chest that had all of the Nibi chakra inside of it as he tossed her body aside. As Naruto then looked over as Killer Bee was on the ground, twitching. He has long since resorted back out of his ATL form, as Berserk was just too much for him. As Naruto looked over to see the Raikage getting back up to his feet, the man was clutching onto his stump as he was bleeding badly, burns all over his body. The remaining army of Kumo ninjas who rallied themselves started making their way towards the battlefield, even though they were scared. While Naruto was using an ability to feed on their fear, they made their way to rescue and help the Raikage and the two guardians of Kumo. As Naruto paid them no mind, he went over and grabbed the Raikage by his head, lifting him off the ground with one hand. As he floated up, flying straight towards Berserk, making sure everyone of them saw what he was about to do. As he tossed the Raikage at Berserk, Berserk stretched out and grabbed him with his teeth. The Raikage cried out in pain as Berserk's teeth ripped into his flesh, as Berserk tore him apart and swallowed him. Everyone stood there, as Naruto simply waved his hand as another vine burst from the ground, wrapped around Killer Bee's stomach, and pulled him straight towards him, as Naruto shoved his hand right into Killer Bee's chest. As he roamed around for a few seconds, he then threw Killer Bee's body straight over towards the Kumo ninjas, after having a black ball in his hand, with the ATL chakra inside. Yo, next time, said Naruto. One of them had to raise their mouth and taunt him. You are no god. You will die here for what you did. You monster. I'm not a god, am I? Said Naruto. As he landed back on the ground, Naruto raised his hand as the ground then dent, as he flew underneath it. They were confused, as all of them turned their attention on the monster, thinking that he was going to let it wreak havoc. But it was then that the ground started to break. The mountain area started to be rooted out of the ground. Many of them looked back to what they saw. It was unbelievable. The entire village of Kumo was ripped from the ground as it was floating in mid-air. The ninjas that came outside was beyond shock, beyond disbelief to what they were seeing, as they saw at the base of that was Naruto. He was holding up the entire mountain in one hand, a strange black substance that was covering his entire body as his power was leaking out of him, as he held on to the entire place before he threw it straight up in the air. The thing tilted over as he fly up and smashed his feet on the base, as the village was sent sailing down back in the wrong direction as it smashed in upon itself. Naruto disappeared before anything could happen as he arrived back on Berserk's head that started to move. But the backlash was beyond devastating as bodies, screams. The village was wrecked. Naruto sat down on Berserk's head as he just smiled as he watched his creature make his way towards his another destination. As he looked at his hands, as he couldn't believe that he has been denying himself of this power for so long. After using so much power, he didn't even feel winded, as his entire body was caked in a black aura. He calmed himself. He was letting too much power leak out of him. He might end up destroying the place, even if he didn't want to. "Oh, next place we're going, buddy, you can't come," said Naruto, as he slammed his hands together, as he pulled them apart as a vortex opened up in front of him. "You stay there until I'm ready for you, okay?" As the thing just walked in, as Naruto hopped off his head and made his way. Meanwhile, a distance away, the Zetsu was watching everything. "No, it can't be," he said. He quickly made his way back to his world, but it wasn't. As he cursed, he thought the boy had been foolish enough to release this thing back in his own world, but it wasn't here that he sent it. So where the hell did he put it? A few hours later, Tsunade was in the office with Jiraiya, Kakashi, Anko, Rukia, and Hinata. As she got the report, she and everyone else was silent inside. After she told them what happened, what Naruto did, they couldn't believe it. "This must be some false news," said Hinata. "Naruto-kun would never do something like that," she said. Despite all the evidence there, she just did not want to believe it. "Hinata," Rukia said, as she was also upset and sad and angry as well. "I know that you're finding this hard to believe, but it is. I know that my brother is not a bad person, but it's not him." "How can we fix him?" said Uncle. "There must be a way to stop this like you did last time." "I'm afraid that was the only one. I cannot return him back to normal. I don't know how, unless I see him and talk to him. But last time I did, he seemed uninterested to talk to me. So I don't know what to do." "Well, we can't have a talk to the voice." All of them turned to see a black haze materialize in the office as they got on their guard. But some of them released their guard and noticed it was Naruto. As Jiraiya, Kakashi, Tsunade, all of them narrowed their eyes. Hinata stepped forward. "Naruto-kun," she said, as she moved forward to hug him. He did not relent or anything. As she hugged him, "I thought I was going to lose you," she said, as she wrapped her arms around him. After what he did, saving her life and risking his life to fight those shinobis, as the thought of what she was just told was not registering in her mind, she was just glad to have her Naruto back. "Well, I don't think what I am right now I can even die," he said. As she looked up at him, she noticed his eyes were different. They were not silver or blue like before. They were black. The pupils were black completely. The edges were white. As he looked at her, "What's wrong?" he said. "Your eyes." "What happened to your eyes?" she asked. "Oh, I went through some changes." As she released him, "Oh, hello there, Uncle." "Bachan," he said. "Oh, perfect sage." Kakashi. Rukia. "What's in long faces, guys? Seems like something is wrong." Naruto. "What have you done?" said Tsunade. "Oh, you mean getting my revenge?" said Naruto. "Well, you see, those guys really pissed me off, so I decided to exterminate them." "Well, you guys are still a part of the three great ninja villages." "So it's true," said Kakashi. As, despite the report that Tsunade was given, he didn't want to believe that Naruto was capable. Well, he didn't want to believe that Naruto was able to do something like that. But to hear it from his mouth now, well, they surely did piss me off, said Naruto, so I had to teach him a lesson. Naruto-kun, did you really exterminate those villages? Asked Hinata. Well, yeah, he said. You should be happy. They also tried to kill you. Alright, it's alright now, she said. It's over, right? So you can come back to us. Nah, he said. I'm gonna be leaving this planet. What do you mean leaving this planet? Asked Natty. Well, I'm bored. The world is gonna need some time to evolve. At the moment, you guys are still, well, behind what I want right now. But I'm counting on the group. You know Pervisage, Akatsuki. They're really making strive right now. And I know what the real reason behind the Akatsuki is. What is it, said Jiraiya? Well, just say they're going to bring back a certain monster. And also, they already have the 2 and 8 tails and the 4 and 5. What, said Snatty? Those tail beasts are from the other nations. Are you... Well, kind of, said Naruto. Naruto, she said. She got out of her seat. What the hell are you gonna do? As Hinata was confused, what is going on? He has the other Jinchurikis, don't you, said Snatty. Well, yes, said Naruto. And what are you gonna do with them, asked Jiraiya. Oh, simple. I'm gonna hand them over to the enemy. Jiraiya and the others looked at him like he was crazy. As Uncle stepped forward, Kid, I don't know what has taken over you, but you need to snap out of this now. And stop with this nonsense. You know, I still remember my feelings to all of you guys. And I know that I care for all of you in here, even you Rukia, who just came into my life. And don't worry, this act won't be bothering you. After all, I got what I wanted from him. You went there, and you left him alive, she asks. Oh yeah, said Naruto. After all, I'm gonna need a challenge in the future. Naruto-kun, what are you doing? Stop doing this. You need to stop this nonsense right now. All of this doesn't come back and cause you great pain and consequences. She's right, said Snatty. Stop this. If you have those Jinchurikis, do not hand them over to the enemy. As she clenched her fists, or I'll have to stop you, she said. Come on, Bachan, said Naruto. I don't want to hurt any of you guys. And I won't. After all, I still remember what you guys mean to me, but yeah. I just have better things to do. I mean, I have a lot of worlds to explore. Visit here and there, so yeah, that's all I came to say. So see you guys in a couple of years, okay? As he was about to turn, Naruto-kun, you can't do this, said Hinata. You can't just leave. As Naruto stepped forward, as he placed a hand at her chin. You can't leave me, she said. He leaned forward as he kissed her, shocking everyone in the room. Well, to the state that he was in right now, they didn't expect this. As Jiraiya had a caution eye on Naruto, because Naruto was going to do something stupid and he couldn't allow that to happen right now. As Jiraiya slowly pulled out a scroll, as he placed it on the table, he'll have to seal off this room. His precious ones are in here, they can talk him out of this. Naruto brutally kissed Hinata as her cheeks were all red. As he leaned forward, you're too boring right now, he said. So see ya. Don't worry, I'll be back in a couple of years, he said. He looked at Jiraiya. As his eyes snapped towards the scroll, black flames incinerated it. Come on. Did you really believe that was gonna work, said Naruto? I told you I'm not gonna fight you guys. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave, okay? As he looked at Hinata. Don't be sad. I'll be back in a couple of years. What about me, said Rukia. You can't just leave me here. After all I did to find you. Oh. You just stay here and become friends with them. Because it's not like you can return back to your homeworld now. Don't do this, she said. As Uncle stepped forward. Brat, after all that we've been through, you can't just do something like this. Think. Think about the ones who truly care about you. Don't do this, said Uncle. You guys are really boring me, said Naruto. I told you I'll be back in a couple of years. So enough babbling. Don't do this, said Snatty. You have done so much already. Do not just leave like that. We need you here, she said. Yeah, but I have to go. And with that, he simply vanished, with none of them being able to stop him. As he was gone, Hinata collapsed to the ground, tears leaking from her eyes. Rukia did the same. As Kakashi stood there, there was 2 of his students that he lost. Meanwhile, at the Hidden Rain, as Tendo Pain was walking through the hall, he was going to be hooked up back to the machine to allow Nagato to get some Nagato's paused as he looked out of Tendo's eyes. Oh, hey there. As the boy was standing there right in front of him, as Konan came walking around the corner. As she froze, both her and Nagato seemed surprised. Huh, must be surprised to see me here, said Naruto. As he reached into his cloak, Tendo quickly raised his hand, not wasting any time, as he fired off an almighty push. But Naruto raised his hand just as fast, as two unseen forces collide together, destroying everything in the center, as Konan was sent sailing away. Nagato blinked just once, his other paths all get ready to strike until, I wouldn't do something like that. Nagato froze. He couldn't believe what was going on. How was that even possible? He was looking through Tendo's eyes, but the boy was gone. Instead, he heard the voice behind him. Huh. You look really disgusting, said Naruto, as he walked around the mechanical walker. Nagato was stunned. No one has ever made this far down his base before. How did this boy find him? And so quickly, he didn't even see when he moved. As I was saying, as Naruto reached into his cloak, as he pulled out the orbs, as he placed them on the ground. Those are the tail beasts. I couldn't give you all of the 9-tailed chakra, but that would do, said Naruto. You seem surprised, said Naruto, as he chuckled to himself. I'm just looking forward toward the future. Konan came rushing down the hall. Don't worry, said Naruto as she stopped right in front of him. I'm not here to arm your boss. As Konan, wings extended, Konan, said Pain. As she looked towards him, he shook his head no, as he looked down the orbs. So Seiya, said Naruto as he blinked out of sight. What are those, she asked. The Bijous, he said, confusing Konan. Back at the silver capital, as Dizak was currently sitting down, as he still found no way to or argument to convince the boy, when suddenly Naruto appeared in his office. Yo, as Dizak narrowed his eyes at him. You're here? Yeah, told you I'll be visiting. Why now, said Dizak. Oh, I'm just here to kill you, said Naruto. Dizak's eyes widened, but Naruto burst out laughing. Oh, don't worry, I'm just kidding, he said. I'm just here to give you this. As Naruto slammed his hands together, as a vortex opened up. After the vortex opened up, Dizak watched in delight as what belongs to him emerged. All of that power in this demonic creature. You must be shocked that I'm giving you this, right? I'm hoping that you're gonna use it for some good, Nah, I'm just kidding, said Naruto. I want a challenge when I return. I'm gonna be dealing with some business off-world, so... Oh yeah, you're forbidden to go to the elemental nations. As a matter of fact, Naruto appeared in front of Dizak and touched him on the forehead. Dizak stood there froze, as a symbol burned right into his forehead. Not even with that power you can go there. As Dizak narrowed his eyes after touching his forehead, to see the symbol went into his skull. What did you do? I banned you, said Naruto. You cannot go there. As long as I live, it's attached to my life force. So yeah. When I come back here though, we can have a battle. But you have that now, what you said belongs to you. So you can get stronger, right? Yes, said Dizak. Yeah, smile, said Naruto, I know you want to. But don't worry, I'll come back in some time and we'll have that battle you want. Just make sure you're strong enough, because if you aren't, I'm gonna take your soul from you. And you won't just die. I'm gonna put you through eternal torturing, okay? Naruto said that smile. Dizak didn't say anything to him, as Naruto blinked away once again. The people in the Silver City was screaming as they saw the monster just emerge right there. Dizak wasted no time, as he couldn't afford for him to come back here and receive this. Back at the Elemental Nations, as Naruto stood there, looking up in the sky. Zetsu, I could almost kiss you, he said. Thanks for the information. As he looked at his stomach, the seal around his stomach started to burn off. Yeah, about time, he said, as he sank and blew straight through the Earth atmosphere. As Naruto took off. Time skip. Unknown planet, unknown time. As people were walking around, all of these people were dressed in white, as they had strange eyes. It was Similar. It was the same as Hinata's. As the race of people were walking around, most of them simply walking around casually. But some of them, you can feel some enormous amount of power just oozing from their body. Many of them were on the street. As this place was different from Earth or the Silver City, it was just elegant and more pronounced. That was when something came from the sky like a meteor as it crashed into the Earth, decimated a huge part of a beautiful street. As Naruto picked himself out of the crater, finally he said, "Just about time," a girl voice said right beside him. "We took so long to get here." "Yeah, but we didn't know exactly where it was," another voice said beside her. "None of us knew, okay? You can't really blame us," said Naruto. "But we're here. And besides, tell me that other plans weren't fun." "Well, I wouldn't say they weren't fun," the guy beside Naruto said. "Well, you're right about that," the girl said. "They were extremely fun," she said. Also, as she looked towards Naruto, "Come on, not now," said Naruto. "Maybe later." As he looked towards the people in the place, all of them looked at him. Some people descended from the sky as they landed right in front of Naruto. As all of them looked at him and his two members. "Hello, Otsutsuki," said Naruto. But guys, we'll be ending this episode right here. For the next part, be certain to do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn the bell notifications as they posted. Remember, share this with all of your friends in social media platform. But more for now, see you guys soon. Peace.